road.
My name's Cathy Hird, and I live on the shore of Georgian Bay near Big Bay, so between Wyerton and Owen Sound. I work as a United Church minister, retired sheep farmer. We sold the farm in October and are now living on the shore. When I first started to want to write fiction, because I always thought I would do some academic writing. It hadn't happened, and I thought, well, let me try something different. I was really tired of fantasy stories set in the Middle Ages, because everything has kings and knights and horses and swords. So I went back to a mythology I love, which is ancient Greece. So my first series is set in the time that Homer writes about, so Bronze Age, so 1300 BC, and draws on some of the traditions of that time. So there's a captured princess, but she's not as much of a wimp as Helen of Troy, and her brother who sets out to rescue her doesn't start a 10-year war. So the idea is what happens if she's partly the agent of her own growth, so it's a bit of a coming of age story. And they're trying to avoid the direct conflict between the cities. So one of the things I also thought about in that was that the Olympian gods are really strong in classical Greece, so in the 600s, 700s, because they very much belong to the cities. But there is an older agricultural tradition, and we know of the fertility goddesses in the Mediterranean, but there is a tradition on the mainland as well. So the basic conflict is between an ancient Mother Earth goddess and Poseidon, and they clash. Well, I have a series that's contemporary, and the third book in that series comes out next month. So I thought there's a lot of fantasy that's called urban fantasy, so set in the cities. And I thought, well, not everybody lives in the city. So the Fractured is set in between Meaford and Thornbury. We begin on the rail trail just outside of Thornbury with a girl just finished grade 12 going for a jog. Actually, she's in the middle of exams, so it's kind of to let off steam in her grade 12 exams. The other theme in that story is our need for renewable power and energy. So there's an alchemist who's looking for a new renewable power source, but he's not paying attention to the consequences of his experiments. In particular, what happens to the waste products. As long as they get out of his sight, he doesn't care where they go. It draws on Celtic mythology, so there's a captured elf, and this alchemist has stolen the cauldron of Caradwyn and brought it to Canada. So in the end, the things do get worked out. The cauldron of Caradwyn, the elf is freed, and he takes the cauldron back to Caradwyn in Scotland. And then when she gets it back, she's very angry at the gods who helped the alchemist to steal the cup in the first place. And so then the conflict is between her and the gods who helped him. So Scotland is in a mess. Mostly outside of my day job, I write fantasy, but I do also write a column for the Owen Sound Hub every week. It's a spirituality column, so it draws on questions of meaning and purpose and connection. So I have a collection of those columns as well, and people can check them out on owensoundhub.org every week. It's published on Thursday. And I'll be at the Flesherton Fling, and I'll be reading from my collection of columns.